What's happening, folks? Welcome back to the channel. Reaction to Celtic 4, Man City 3 in North Carolina last night. If I was pushed for one word in terms of reaction, it would be wow. I was really, really impressed with some of the football we saw for the team last night, especially in that first half. I thought we played brilliantly. I thought there was a zip in the passing. I thought the speed we played at was very good. I thought the aggression off the ball was brilliant. Judging when to go and press Man City. I thought we got that right more often than not, but I thought we were brave in defending high up the pitch as well. And I know people will say, well, it wasn't a full strength Man City team. Of course it wasn't, but they did have a lot of first team players out there, the likes of Haaland, the likes of Grealish, Rico Lewis, who's played a lot of minutes for them. Calvin Phillips was out there as well, who I know hasn't played a great deal for Man City, but still an established Premier League player. Oscar Bob, who had some key inputs for them last season as well, was playing. Ortega in goals, has played a lot of cup matches for them. It was hardly Man City under 18s, despite the fact they did have some young players out there. I just thought Celtic were brilliant in that first half. I thought the way we built the play for the back was very good. It was incisive. We looked a threat. I think we had some brilliant individual performances and we scored 3 excellent goals. The standout player for that first half was obviously Nicholas Kuhn, who gets his 2 goals and then lays on an absolutely blinding assist for Kyogo's goal, the third one, outside his left foot, bent round 2 Man City defenders. The ball still got to travel maybe 35, 40 yards into Kyogo's path, and Kyogo takes a great touch, goes round Ortega and puts it away, but the pass from Kuhn was out of this world, genuinely out of this world. That's hands down the best performance we've ever seen from Nicholas Kuhn in a Celtic jersey. It was only 45 minutes. It was in a friendly, but if that's a glimpse of what we're going to see from him this season, I think it's fair to say it's a vast improvement on that first 6 months he had at the club. It was really, really promising. Lots of promising play across the pitch. I think the first goal was beautiful. It's a really incisive pass for Scales into the feet of Kyogo. Kyogo's dropped deep. He knocks it back to Hatate, who wraps it into O'Reilly's feet first time, and then we've beat Man City's press, and all O'Reilly has to do is take the ball in the half turn, fire a lovely pass into the channel for Kuhn, who goes in and finishes it really calmly with his right foot past Ortega into the far corner. It was a brilliant, brilliant goal, really well worked, and we had a few moves like that throughout the course of that first half. The second goal is similar as well. Again, it just gets to Hatate in that midfield area and he's able to lift his head. Man City are a wee bit out of position at the back. He's able to lift his head, play a nice ball in to Kuhn, who puts his 2-1 up. It was shortly after Man City's equaliser. Again, really impressive. That second goal was similar patterns as well. Kyogo dropped deeper, but then he spun and he absolutely burst a gut to get into the box, but Kuhn didn't need him because he cut inside and finished it himself. And then, as I say, that third goal, really, really brilliant football. O'Reilly's involved again deeper in the pitch, and he plays the ball out wide to Kuhn, who lifts his head and plays that unbelievable pass for Kyogo to make it 3-1. Kasper Schmeichel got his first 45 minutes in a Celtic jersey as well, and I thought he was very, very impressive. He makes 2 blinding saves from Erling Haaland one-on-one, where he's came out and he's made himself really, really big. I think he deals with those one-on-one situations very, very well. 2 brilliant saves, only 7 or 8 minutes apart, both from Haaland. The second one, Haaland just gets in behind and he tries to dink it over him, wait for Schmeichel to make the move and then dink it over him, but he still gets a strong left hand up to claw it away, and he's actually really unlucky with the goal that he does concede, Kasper Schmeichel, for Oscar Bob to level it for Man City. He gets a really strong hand to it, almost ricochets and goes under his body, and Scales can't clear it off the line. Really impressed with those 2 saves. I think he gave it away once or twice when he was trying to go a wee bit longer with the passing, Kasper Schmeichel, but really promising, looks really competent. I think with Schmeichel, I know I looked at this the other day when I compared the stats between him and Joe Hart, but I never had that feeling with Joe Hart that he was going to go and have a Fraser Foster style performance in a European game where he just manages to keep everything out. He's a man of the match performance and it gets his points. I feel like Kasper Schmeichel's got one of them in him. I'm not saying it's guaranteed to happen, but I think he's got one of those performances in him, and I think those 2 saves were hopefully just a glimpse of things to come from him. Again, as always the case in these pre-season friendlies, a lot of changes at half-time, a lot of changes around the hour mark. So the game did change a good bit. Man City scored really early in the second half, and Johnston, who's came on the left wing, doesn't do enough defensively. And it's a nice finish. Sinisalo's came on in goals to replace Schmeichel as well. Can't get near that second goal, but he did have a good save 5 or 10 minutes after that from the Man City left-hand side. I think he looked calm on the ball, Sinisalo. Maybe I'd like to see a sort of Man City situation with Ortega, where they tend to use him in most cup competitions. I'd maybe like to see us do that with Sinisalo, as long as the manager thinks he can trust him enough and he's at the level where he can play those games for us. I'd like to see that this season. I don't think there's any doubt Kasper's going to be number one, and we could see why from that first 45 minutes last night. But lots of promising stuff there. And then the fourth goal, Man City obviously equalised to make it 3-3. Haaland just out-muscles Scales at the back post, nods it past Sinisalo, and then we managed to go back in front, and it's Kwon who's came off the bench making a brilliant run forward in behind Man City's high line, and he just lifts his head to see Luis Palma, who's got an absolute open goal to tap it in and make it 4-3. Really, really good. I thought some of the football, as I say, especially in that first half, but even in the second when we've made all the changes to go and find a fourth goal and then manage to see it out, was very, very good. I know it's a pre-season friendly and you can't take too much from results, but I thought the performance level is really, really promising. And I think we're seeing some good performances from the likes of Kuhn, the likes of Hatate. O'Reilly looks good. Kyogo was brilliant, I thought. He had one or two chances aside from that goal that he scored, but constantly involved. And as I say, that link up, Scales had, to be fair, Scales had a couple of really good incisive passes into Kyogo's feet where he's dropped deep just below the halfway line, and then he set it back for a midfield player, and we were able to play down the sides of Man City and get the wingers involved. That was a standout. We talked so much last season about the poor output for wide areas. I thought we looked dangerous in that first half down the sides, with Kuhn on one side, but even Maeda, who had a couple of opportunities to run at the full-back, even in the counter-attack at times. I remember Matt O'Reilly winning it back and going long for Maeda, and he managed to keep it in, and all of a sudden we were breaking at Man City. Really, really promising stuff to look that dangerous in transition. There's some of the hallmarks there, things that you look for, things that you want to see replicated when it comes to those big European games, because let's be honest, Man City, despite the fact they didn't have a full team out, they're still playing like Man City. They're still high up the pitch. They're still quite aggressive. They still play in an open, attacking manner, and that doesn't happen to us very often domestically, but it will happen. And that was the case in some European games last season, and we actually performed relatively well in one or two of those European games. So it's in those games where teams are aggressive and they feel they can come at us, for us to be a threat going the other way and to be really incisive we're passing, and to carry a threat going forward and be able to play in those patterns where we can break on teams when they come and presses, get out past them, and the quality of goals we scored is really, really promising. So a lot of positives, far more positives than negatives to take for that game last night. We're on to Chelsea at the weekend now. I think that game's at a more reasonable time as well, so I'll try and get some of the guys on for a full-time reaction following on from that game as well. But really promising. I think this US trip has shown the club in a good light in terms of some of the work the foundation is doing out there, and for the supporters who are based in the US. I know a lot of you who watch this channel are based in North America. For you guys to get a chance to see the team up close is brilliant, and most importantly, these two performances have had a lot of positive outcomes, a lot of promising signs for the way we're playing football. The level of fitness I think in the team is getting better, and like I say, that work off the ball, that aggression off the ball, is something that shows you they're putting the work in the training sessions, but also that we're gearing up towards where we should be for that first league game next Sunday, which is next Sunday, by the way. It's closing in on us. Only about 10 days to go until we finally get to see Celtic back in competitive action. And obviously still no signing news yet, still 0 outfield players recruited this summer, which is a huge concern for me. I shared a post on Twitter the other night and you can tell people are split. Some people are really patient, optimistic. I don't think there's much to go on in terms of that. I think to be this far through the window, I know that we've still got until the end of August, but realistically, the season starts next Sunday, and for 0 outfield players to have arrived at the club is a big concern. I think the club are taking far too long. They're either sitting on their hands or they're not able to get the deals done. The outfield squad is far weaker right now than it was when we finished last season. We've lost Adamida, we've lost Paulo Bernardo. None of them have come back yet. The Bernardo thing just keeps dragging on. Again, there's more news stories from Portugal last night about how the deal's done. The deal's agreed, the personal terms are agreed. He's still not here. He's still not officially a Celtic player. So we've lost those two guys for that squad last season, and we haven't brought anybody in. So plenty of promise for the pre-season performances. It looks like Brendan Rodgers is getting something a lot closer to what he would want out of the team in these early pre-season games, and that's a really good sign. But there's no doubt that when we come to starting the season and we get into the games again, we're going to need a much better squad. We're going to need more quality, and it is without question when we come into Europe that we're going to need better players, and the squad's going to need help. The manager's going to need help in that department. Who knows why we haven't signed any outfield players? It's a huge concern. The only one who looks imminent is Bernardo, and that'll be the longest delay between a fee and a deal in personal terms being reported to be agreed and a player actually arriving at the club. It's been going on for about 3 weeks, or longer than that if you go back to the start of the summer. Right after the season finished, there was discussions about Celtic getting to a final permanent deal with Benfica, and he's still not here. So Bernardo's the only outfield player that looks imminent. With 10 days to go, can we say with confidence that anybody else is going to be in the door and ready to contribute? And I know that the optimists among you will say we don't need new players to go and beat Kilmarnock on that first day of the season, but the sooner we can get players in, the better, settle them in, and then we're ready to go when the games pick back up and we move towards that Champions League draw and the first game in early September. So there you go. That'll do us for the roundup of last night's game. I loved it. Really enjoyed watching the game. I thought some of the football was brilliant. Lots to build on for us. Some really promising performances for key players. And let's hope we can carry that into the game at the weekend against Chelsea. We'll be back with you if we get any more transfer news before then. Like the video, give us your thoughts in the game below in the comments, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.